Hey everybody, I'm Law of the West, and welcome back to the IAE. Today, we're going to be looking at Drake ships. And today is going to be a fan favorite. You know, much like Aegis was, because, you know, they're military ships, everybody's into that. And RSI, because the Polaris came out, and everybody who was here had a chance to rent a free one for the day and get a chance to get a feel for how that ship felt, how it worked, how to blow other people up. So it's kind of tough to pass up on something like that. And Drake is a fan favorite. I think the only other one is going to be Anvil, which people are going to be really into because that is another military manufacturer. But Drake, good old power to the people. Let's go check this out. The commute over here was absolutely hell. For some reason, it's so ingrained in me to get on and go right to the starport. I started doing that. And when I tried to get back, it was a series of mishaps. Every tram I went to get onto was just closing its doors and taking off right when I arrived. And a little bit of advice, if you want to make the trip extra exciting, go onto a server that's nowhere near located where you are. Like for me, it would be go on to the Asian servers or go over into Australia and then try to ride the trams. That is pretty much like watching the original Willy Wonka in that scene where they get on the boat and go through the tunnel. It's that same level of terrifying when you're a kid. It's the only way I could say that. It's the only way I could describe that. Cutter Scout. Okay, so let's get to Drake ships. And, you know, Drake ships. What can I say about Drake ships? The quintessential pirate fleet. I know people are going to yell at me about that, but back before they had 200 ships plus going on, they didn't have a lot of choices for what were going to be enemy vessels. And it was either going to be Drake ships or Vandal ships. And it was going to be a little smattering of everything else. And a lot of their ships were originally designed with that notion. So, but since then they've changed it considerably. A lot of stuff has changed since then. Now pretty much every ship is on the docket as far as being an enemy. Drake isn't the pirate fleet anymore, even though it's kind of being sold as one. In lore it is, but in reality, not so much. Okay, so Cutter Scout. Wait a second. Is this the one I'm thinking about? Hold on a second. Let me get a little bit of a bird's eye view. Okay, yeah, this is the one with the radar dish on it. I don't want to bury the lead, but I kind of want to talk about this one last. Because among all of the cutters, this one's my favorite. Explain yourself, Law. Why is that? Well, it's because... Why is that? I don't know. No, I totally know. When you compare this to the original version, the default cutter, it has the same front end. The flight deck is the same for all the cutters. The HAP section has the same stuff in it. It's just that the Scouts version is more compact, which is, I'm okay with that. And it has the largest amount of room in the back for like hauling vehicles. Now, granted, the default cutter can haul 4 SEUs of cargo, and this one can only carry 2, but it still has more room in the back, weirdly enough. So, best transport options. And it's also because this is a starter ship and it's crap when it comes to combat, you want something that's going to be as good at avoiding enemy targets who are coming after you or just other ships in general as possible. And that's what this ship is going to be. Increased scanner range. And I would go so far as to take it and put all, what's that word I'm looking for? Stealth components. See, I'm still working on my first cup of coffee. But yeah, outfit it with all stealth components, which makes it even harder to see, and other people will be much easier for you to see. So I think this would be like a really good ship to use for all the things that the cutter can actually be used for. But on top of it, you would have like, you could do smuggling runs, sneaking into places unannounced, unseen, and being able to avoid combat, which is what you really want to do with a ship like this. So, a lot of good options. And what I'm wearing, you ask? My friendly Duck Dodgers outfit. All right, let's come over here. Which one's this? This is the regular cutter. It's a neat ship. I really liked it when it came out as like the newest starter ship. I think this is one of the best-selling Drake ships that they had. So a lot of people own this. You're going to be seeing a lot of free skins for this in the future. because so many people own it, I gotta watch bad mouthing it. No, I don't have anything bad to say about it. I think it's actually a really cool little ship. The only thing I could say about it is I think this came out dead last when it came to its offensive capabilities. And we look at it, here's the bathroom shower combo. This is like an oddity for Drake. It breaks every one of the rules. Heavy on amenities, light on weapons, which is the exact opposite mentality they have for their ships. I'm waking up a little bit. Extra storage. Just poke our head in the flight deck. Take a look around here. Very neat. It's got a bed. Let's get out of here. Come on, Drake. Let me out. Open. Open, says me. Get me out of here. Yeah, you get stuck in there. Goodbye. Nice knowing you. And this is the one, like I said before, has like 4 SEUs of cargo. All the other ones have 2, I believe. And this is the Rambler over here. Man, this is the Space Winnebago right here. It should come with like a free Lone Star jacket and a free barf costume. It really should. Which is weird too, because it's got the most shallow back end. I'm not getting back in there. I barely got out of the other one. Forget that. You're like a haunted ship. But it's got a whole bunch of amenities. It's got like a suit locker. It's got like the extra weapons racks. It's got a little food storage or a little area where you can go eat. Ah, here we go. Here's the original winner. Yeah, first year's IAE. Best in show. I still remember the joke where they're just like, oh, so this means they're going to fix those little platforms, right? No. Still waiting on that. In case you can't tell, like, these platforms right here I'm looking at are supposed to descend all the way down so you can drive a vehicle onto it and then lift it up and bring it in. Nope. This has been a workhorse, though. This has been a really good ship. Like, if you've owned this, I guarantee you've gotten a lot out of it over the years. I'm really looking forward to it because like this module right up here is supposed to be detachable. I'm really looking forward to that, how that works. It'll be very interesting. A lot of gameplay potential with that. Particularly when you have like large fleets of ships that are interacting with each other and you just want to use something like that to take off and land. As a matter of fact, I was talking about Kruger the other day and I was kind of trying to drop hints about them building ships or little small modules that could just attach themselves right to the sides of airlocks and things like that. And this is pretty much exactly the concept of what I was talking about. Things more like this, but just that would connect to other ships. Because theoretically, this will be able to connect to any ship that has the same size airlock. I do not believe it's supposed to be bespoke to this ship, but I could be wrong on that. Hello. Spot a tractor beam? I do. Interesting.
This is a friendly reminder that the Tobin Expo Center is a STEM-free environment.
I'm going to go on the other side. I want to see where the tractor beam is for that mount. Because that's the tractor beam station right there. Oh, nice. Yeah, see, there it is. Here's the other one. Interesting. So what else do we got on the floor? Did I miss anything here? Go head over here for a second, check out. Let's see. And as per usual, I think we're going to go downstairs first. So yeah, okay, so we got the Vulture, got the Cutlasses, Corsair, nice, Herald, Buccaneer. What do we got downstairs? Dragonflies, Mules, Krakens, and Ironclad. Let's go check that out. Speaking of the Kraken, so the reason I was a little late getting into here was because I had this perverse need to sit there at the ship's store and just watch the Kraken sell out instantly. Now the version that you can buy with store credit it didn't even last a minute. It was just poof and it was gone. I think the other Kraken was still there after I hung out for about 4 minutes and I just got sick of waiting and just left. Privateer as well, man, that did not last a minute. That was just blink and it was gone. So it was kind of funny. Is like I love bad mouthing Drake because it's just fun to do because it just triggers people so quickly, so easily. But the reality of the situation is, Drakes are actually really good ships. Like they've got reputations for putting out things that are like junkers and barely held together with duct tape and grit. But when you look at certain ships like this one right here, the Dragonfly, this has got my without a doubt the best Gravlev they've ever come out with. You think about it with features, even though they took the shield away from it, it's got really good weapons for a Gravlev. It's got 2 seats, which has come in handy over and over again throughout the course of playing this game. Like having an extra room for another person has never been a bad thing. It's got external storage. And supposedly you're going to be able to get rid of that second seat and add more storage to it. We'll see if that's going to be a thing or not. I think it is. It's just going to be a matter of when. Yeah. So very good. So they have some of like, I'm not going to say the best and the worst of ships, but they definitely have some of the best. Oh God, I just said they don't have any of the best of the worst, and then I walk up to the mule. Talk about making me eat my own words. Wow, thanks mule. Oh God, this ship, this vehicle. What do I say about this vehicle? I don't know, man. I can think of one good thing to say about it, okay? And it's fully enclosed, and for some reason, I'm really not into vehicles that are open canopy. Like, I want them to be fully closed off, and I want them to have some kind of environmental protection. And it definitely fits that bill. And I believe this fits into... I want to say every one of the versions of the cutters. I know it fits into at least 2 of them. I think it might not fit into the Rambler. I'd have to check on that. But something this size that can actually fit into like a small starter ship, that is pretty good. And I'm thinking of it less for like transport options, because I believe at this point you can slap a box into the back of it. And it's got those little wireframe baskets on the side of it that look like they're used for hanging plants, but you could put little like mission critical boxes in there or something like that. It's got some use. Like if I picked this up for free somewhere, like if I was going to an outpost and I just nabbed one, I wouldn't think twice about it. But the fact that people are buying it from the ship store means it gets put under a lot heavier scrutiny. Okay, let's pick it up a little bit. Oh, the Ironclad. So as much as I like the Caterpillar, they then come out with the Ironclad, which is basically like taking a Caterpillar and then just stretching it laterally from both sides and just... It is a really, really long Caterpillar with some extra options added on top of it. I am very, very curious to see how this ship manifests. Because, Star Citizen, they do that soft triangle method of balancing ships. And if anything's, like, too good in any one particular area, they're going to just kind of, like, just kick it. And keep kicking it until it's no longer that good. And this ship is, like, amazing sounding. Like, it seems like it has better transport options than the Hercules or the Liberator. It has the detachable command module. It has an opening on the top and the side, well, the front, which is going to be extremely convenient when it comes to... So you can use this as a transport for smaller ships and vehicles. They can carry, like I was saying, like 4 tanks, and I think you're going to be able to carry much more than that. Like, I believe the Assault version has, like, more open space in that area, so it could be able to carry, like, 6 Nova tanks, something along those lines. That's ridiculous. Tons of forward-facing weapons and heavy armor. So... the only thing I can think of is unless they start ripping features out of this thing, it is either going to handle like a brick or it's going to be completely exposed everywhere except for the very front of it. So it's going to be one of those, if you can avoid having this thing aiming directly at you, you're fine, which will be really easy to do because it'll probably take forever and a day for it to just kind of turn an inch. But we'll see. For what it is, sounds amazing. Speaking of sounding amazing, welcome to the Kraken. I know there's more than a few people out there who are waiting for this ship. Me included. I fell in love with the look of this ship ever since I first saw it. aircraft carrier design floating in space. A lot of people call it the Yamato, but the Yamato was not an aircraft carrier, so it was more of it's a gunship. But still, flying aircraft carrier. It's not like a Marvel flying aircraft carrier either. It's got its own unique blend. It's got its own style. Very, very Drake-like. And I'm just sitting here crossing my fingers going, you know what? I really kind of hope they make it even bigger. It's like, because once you start owning a ship, that's when you start nitpicking. And I've done a lot of nitpicking about this ship. Let's see if I can, hold on a second. Excuse me. I'm going to get into this camera view mode. Now, let's see if I can dip down and take a little better look at it. The only problem I had with it, and I really kind of wish that they extended the main deck. Oh, that's a bad camera angle. I wish they extended the main deck more forward and more back on the sides. I work just off of a military base that just recently we had an aircraft carrier there, and like they don't pull any punches when it comes to min-maxing the amount of space they have on the deck. And because that is the thing this ship does, that's the main thing about it. I was kind of hoping they just really decided in the long run to push it and not go with that whole, you know, oh yeah, 8 arms of the octopus kind of thing. I get it with the Kraken, but like, and sometimes you can push a motif only so far. And by that I mean it has like 8 spots for ships to land on the deck. And I could tell you, I could carry a heck of a lot more than 8 ships at this point. We'll see. Still love the idea of it. Still love the look of it. We're probably not going to see another carrier for at least a couple of years. So the next one they're going to most likely do is kind of like a military version of a carrier. Because they've already done like the mid-range one, the small version. They've done the civilian class carrier. I'm thinking the Pegasus, but the Pegasus is so unbelievably big. They're going to have to wait until like server meshing is fully a thing before they could possibly even decide on bringing that out or even trying to sell that. I mean, they're going to need to make sure that that works before they sell it, because that could be a server crasher, you know? Server meshing or no server meshing. There's a video by one guy called Teller who put out examples of those ships that you could check out and fly through. And the one he did for the Pegasus was just unbelievable. The size of it, the sheer scope of the interior was mind-boggling. I think you could quite literally, at that time, put every ship that was in the game inside of that thing. Well, excuse me, every small or medium-sized ship, and a couple of large ships as well. I had to instantly backpedal on that statement because I knew just I'd get hammered in the comments section with it. Oh, really? How many entrances could fit in it? When I talk smack about everything you say. Okay. Buccaneer, Corsair. Yeah. The Buccaneer. Buccaneer is one of those really underrated ships. It's had a very long history, too, with the game. Because it's officially labeled a light fighter right now, but it wasn't always a light fighter. It was actually supposed to be competition with the medium fighters that were out at the time. Don't believe me? It had the speed of a Saber. Well, maybe not the maneuverability, but it had the forward thrust and speed of a maneuver. Excuse me, the forward thrust and speed of a Saber. Maybe not just the maneuverability. And it had almost the same firepower as a Super Hornet. So it was supposed to be competition with those two ships. It was like the civilian class competition version. There's a number of reasons why they did that. So what do you do when you have a ship that's as fast as, well, at the time, one of the fastest fighter ships, and also at the time, one of the most powerful fighter ships? Well, you got to nerf it somehow, so they made it a glass cannon. And they all did that because this was a great archetype for an enemy ship, if you really think about it, because that's what you want to have. Like, those are all of the qualities you want to have within excuse me. Those are all the qualities in a ship that you want to have that's attacking you as an enemy unit. And the reasoning behind that is because you want something that can have the speed to catch up to you, because NPC ships are kind of stupid and they're easy to lag behind. So you want them to be able to focus on your position easily. And the other reason is you want them to be deadly. You want them to be a threat so you don't ignore them. And this thing is deadly enough that you can't ignore it, but you also want it to be weak enough so that you can just take them out and feel like a king when you're out there and just be a bop dead, and just take them out. And this ship checked every box when it came to that, when it comes to features. But that was a long time ago and things have changed. Now it's just not quite a PvP ship. It's not up to standards of the other ones, but it's still a really fun ship to fly. It's really good for PvE. So if you get the chance, I would say borrow it from a friend, rent it at IAE, or somehow like just get your hands on it by any means that you can. Try it out. See how it works for you. It's a real fun little ship. It's also a very challenging ship. Not quite on the level of the Arrow, but it's all weapons, can't take much damage. So, oh, the Corsair. What can I say about the Corsair that's not going to get me into trouble? What can I say? Yeah, I got nothing. I got literally nothing. You know, 4 size 5 cannons in the front of it, and then all the weapons it had on the wings and on the side. This was one of the most powerful ships that you could fly. And you know what? I don't think it unbalanced anything. I thought it was perfect for it. It was perfect the way it was. But they since divided up the responsibilities, or not the responsibilities, they divided up the amount of forward-facing weapons, or pilot-operated weapons, among the pilot and the co-pilot. So now you don't have access to the same amount of weapons. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, you could just get a co-pilot. And you're like, once you divide up the responsibilities between weapons groups, you're never going to have the same level of convergence and DPS that you had before. Like, that was one of the biggest problems I had with the Valkyrie, even when I was fully crewing it. We were not always focusing on the same target, even though we could, and not firing at the same rate. So we are not ever putting out the same DPS as we would if I could link all the weapons to my trigger and firing them simultaneously. Man, I am just tripping over my words today. My apologies. I don't know what's up with that. So they were trying to make this a competitor for the 400i and for the Connie series, and they were also calling it an explorer ship. All of those things are wrong. Like, every bit of that is wrong. I tried to stand behind CIG when it comes to that, but I don't back any of those decisions anymore. The 400i is absolutely not in the same classification as this ship. The Constellation got catapulted forward as far as being like a solo vessel. And there's nothing about this ship that's explorer orientated. Like, the old joke is that the only exploring they're going to be doing is using its size 5s to be exploring the inside of your cargo hold, but that's about it, really. I'm not going to go through the whole interior, because that means I have to talk about it more, and then I'm going to say things that are going to get me into trouble. It's a trap. That's a trap. Speaking of traps, let's go over to the Herald. The Starbug. This thing so looks like the Starbug. You know, from Red Dwarf. You know what I'm talking about. It's got that same look, that big bulbous butt back there. The exterior is really starting to show its age. Yeah, I'm not afraid to say it. But I want to go inside, because despite all the things you could sit there and say about it, there's something good I can say about this, and I want to focus on that. This isn't very good lighting. This really needs dark lighting to really show it off. You turn it on, all these consoles light up, but this reminds me the most of what the inside of a spaceship should look like. There is something everywhere. The amount of greebling. This looks like a vending machine for guns. This is what this reminds me of right here. I don't know why. It's the first impression that hits me. But I mean, like, they just put something everywhere. There's never any exposed walls. And that's what spaceships are. There's min-maxing of space. You never can see what the wall behind it is. And everything has just, like, you know, consoles, diodes, storage equipment. Oh, the original Drake ship that has a toilet in it. a sink, and even a bed. I mean, this is definitely made for being out there and just floating around. The only bad thing about it is like this ship is kind of being a little forgotten about when it comes down to like, you know, the whole no gameplay associated with it kind of thing. A friend of mine says he likes flying around and using it for combat. All I can say to that is good luck with that. It's like, you can use any ship for anything you want. There's nothing wrong with it. That's the beauty of this game. That's what I like about it. You want to go do bounty hunting with a Herald? You go do bounty hunting with a Herald. It's only a wrong option if you get killed. And I think, based on this site map, I think I am going this way over to Apex Hall 5. Let's see. We should lead back to one of those little displays. Yeah, that connects to Hall 5. That should be it over here. Yep, there we go. It only took me 10 years, but I learned my way around. I want to see how the music sounds too, because the sound levels here at the hall are much higher than they are everywhere else. So it's kind of really hard to get... ooh, this is a neat looking room. It's hard to get like a good sound to voice modulation. I don't know the term I should be using for it, but it's hard to get a good mix. For me, at least, it has been. I love the lighting in this room. The Cutlass Black. So going back to ships that are kind of like almost like I would consider to be the best in their class, you got the Cutlass Black. Now, if you were playing this game as intended, and you were working your way up from your starter ship, and eventually you wanted to buy your first medium-sized ship, this is the thing I would recommend. Particularly if you don't know what classification you want to go to or what career path you want to pursue, and you wanted to get just like a good multi-rolled vessel, you can't go wrong with this. He's got decent cargo hauling abilities, really good vehicle transport, can carry a bunch of people. I'm gonna go walk inside and just give you a little look around in case you haven't seen it for yourself. And I also really like the way the turret's set up. The turret is more forward facing, so it has a good commanding view of whatever it is that the ship is firing on. It's not like one of those weird ships where they kind of make the turret not work good on purpose, or they put it in a weird wonky position so it's only useful 10% of the time or something. No, this thing is useful all the time. And ever since they took the restrictions off of the gimbaling system, this ship became even better. And what that means is now you can either gimbal or fix all four of its pilot face. Excuse me, once again, scrambling my words. Let me rephrase that. Rewind. You can now control all four of its pilot operated weapons, and you can either gimbal them or fix them. Before you couldn't, they were just permanently fixed. So it puts it on the same category really offensively as something like the Freelancer, which it traditionally was competition for before. There we go. Almost got through that sentence. Man, I tell you though, when I fumble it, I just fumble it big. I was ready to shove a sock in my mouth, as I'm sure you are too. So this is the inside. It's really shaped weird, and like that whole bizarre exterior shape really works for it when it comes to interior space. And I mean, it widens out over here. And you can get like a Cyclone. I believe anything is Cyclone sized or smaller. You can't quite get a Rover in here, at least not without ripping it to pieces. I mean, some people are like, if you take every one of its guns off and all of its tires, you can get it in. It's like, yeah, that also puts it in soft death, by the way. Not exactly what I'd call useful. It'll be interesting what they do with the Cutlass, because if you go back to the original concept, it took space, like areas like around here, and it had modular elements you could put into it that had things such as a bathroom or more weapons rack options, or things along those lines. So we'll see. We'll see if they go forward with that. They kind of really don't need to at this point. Amenities aren't nearly as important as they used to be. And it's got a bed. It's got 2 beds, I believe, in it. So for right now, that's kind of like the most important thing that for these ships to have is a way to spawn out of the game and spawn back to if you want. Everything else is negotiable. Like, hygiene isn't even in the game, so who cares about showers and things like that. Food, you can always just put a bunch of cruises in your pocket and go do what you need to do. So food isn't really a big issue. They don't even really have cooking in the game right now either, so it's like, who knows how that's going to manifest. Cutlass Red, okay. It's so funny how it went from being able to use these beds as a spawn point to not being able to use these beds as a spawn point, with everybody screaming, they're never intended to be done like that. Stop crying about losing that ability. And then it got the ability back again, so. Very interesting. And I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of like the beds a little better over in this niche, like shoved over in this corner. It's just me. I think once they put internal hard points into the game, this is going to be a little spot where you could basically put whatever you want. You know. Looks like it's going to be like a large hard point, so you could put something like a large weapons rack or something along those lines. Wait a minute. Beds. Oh yeah, okay. Just making sure. It's been a while since I've been in this ship. Yeah. This is something that people applauded when they first saw a little bathroom in this area as opposed to the turret. I personally have the turret, but, you know, that's just me. Okay, let's get out of here. Let's go. Let's go over to the Cutlass Steel and try not to say anything about that ship that's going to get me into trouble. Yeah, let's go over to the Vulture first. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I absolutely loved the Vulture when it first came out. I did. It's got some flaws. It's got some things going for it, but ideally, this was one of my favorite Drake ships. I think this is the first one that I legitimately owned because I really wanted to do salvage. I love the whole idea of salvage. Like, to me, it's like this kind of like Zen thing that you can get into. Just turn your brain off and just do it. Put some tunes onto the background. Just earn yourself some cash. I love the way it looks, too. Like, those little prongs in the front of it really do extend out the size of the ship. Like, just, I'm not going to say pointlessly, but without purpose. Yeah, that might not be the best way of putting it either, but yeah, let's come over here. Let's get inside. The only downside to it is, like, as you're pulling material off of ships, it stores it in the form of, like, excuse me, an RNC-like material, and then you have to create boxes. Sorry, one second. I just had to take a little sip of coffee. And the amount of RNC that it carries, the amount of boxes that it can produce, gets filled up really quickly. And for me, just practically speaking, I really needed to have this storage area just greatly increased in size, or increase the buffer size, meaning the amount of stuff that it can hold internally that's not been turned into a box yet. And ideally, I know they would never do this, but as far as I'm concerned, they could literally double the amount of material you could hold into this ship before turning it into boxes, and it would still be, that would be sufficient for me. Everything else I really like about this ship. Had a lot of fun salvaging with it. The only thing that kind of gets me is, like, the small gameplay flaws that they're kind of stuck with aren't really going to change with this ship, and I guarantee they're going to be fixing it with whatever the next salvager is that they come out with. And probably the next salvager that they come out with after that's going to be even better. But until then, love you, Vulture. And the Cutlass Blue. Cutlass Blue in concept has been out for a very long time. I mean, it goes back to the days when they were completely resizing components on a different level than they do now. And this ship had, like, better components. I can't remember which ones specifically, but I remember, like, I think it had, like, a bigger shield size than the other Cutlasses had. So it had stuff that you couldn't upgrade a regular Cutlass to, or any of the other Cutlass variants. I do very much like the way it carries the prisoner pods. And this is kind of like a very interesting insight to how they're going to be doing this on the dedicated bounty hunting ships. Because otherwise, you'd have to take one of these and lay it on the ground. And even just looking at the size, I actually want to bring a single SCU size box in here, or a 2 SCU size box. I believe this is a little smaller than length and width wise than an actual 2 SCU size box. Definitely not as wide. I'm sorry, it's not as thick. That's the right bit of terminology. It'll be interesting because this and what's the name? The Zeus bounty hunting variant. Those two are going to be very close competitors. Expect a versus video on that at some point. Okay, let's go over here. The Cutlass Steel. This is one of those. Yeah, someone kind of just went crazy with the cut and paste. The only thing about me is I think that they created this ship before the concept of life support systems were actually put into the game. And, you know, yeah, I might be wrong on this, but I just wouldn't assume that they were going to put a very hefty-duty life support system in this ship. So everyone's probably going to have to rely on their suit and internal oxygen to keep them going for whatever the duration of the trip is going to be that you're going to. So whatever it is, this ship is going to be really budget in some way. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 13, 14, 15. Excuse me, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, it's a lot of people in here all sucking in the same amount of air. How you doing, buddy? And of course, has guns here, has guns on the side over here that... Oh, that's right, he's got 2 on this. There's almost no room to get in and out of it. Guns covering everything. The downside to it is the last time I checked, those guns shot the inside of the shield, which was kind of a bit of a design flaw as far as I was concerned. Good deal. I think that's everything. I think we've seen everything from Drake. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I really have to give. Well, everybody, thank you again if you've been watching these and sticking with me through these walkthroughs. I've been your host, Law of the West. Thanks for watching, and take care.